Hey, it's Mark Lanier with your video thought for the day. So I'm on vacation right now. That means I'm away from the practice of law, sorta. You can never get too far away. People email you like 24/7. They will call you, they text you. It seems somebody's always working somewhere. But I'm trying to be on vacation. Hence the not Houston scenery behind me. And I was reading this morning from the Gospel of Mark. It's where I've been spending some time lately. And in chapter 1, there's a story that impressed me being, in a sense, on vacation. Let me tell you why. If I were in a courtroom today, if I were trying a case, one of the fundamental rules that the judge would be enforcing is that no juror should ever let bias, sympathy, or prejudice affect their decision making. In fact, if you're not able to set aside any pity or sympathy you might have, say, for a widow who lost her husband, or a child who lost their mom prematurely to cancer, or whatever the case may be, if you're not able to set aside that pity and sympathy and make a determination only on the facts, then under the law, you're not even allowed to serve on a jury in that situation. There may be other juries you can stand on, but not that one, because it's absolutely imperative decisions for justice be made without consideration of sympathy or pity, in a sense. And that may be why today's story stood out to me, because it's a story that I've read countless times, but today it touched me. Here's the story. A leper, a man with some skin disease that's an outcast in society, that's not supposed to be talked to, not supposed to be touched, that's supposed to cry out leprosy or unclean from wherever he may be if he sees anyone else around, because he lives a life of isolation imposed by the medical stringencies of that perhaps contagious disease, not quarantining for COVID purposes in a bubble, but for a time, but really for the rest of his or her life. And there's a leper like this who comes up to Jesus, approaches Jesus, and Jesus doesn't run from him, doesn't recoil. Jesus stands in his place. And the leper says, if you're willing, if you want to, thelo in the Greek is a want, a willingness. But if you want to, you can make me clean. And Jesus, it says, was moved with pity. And Jesus says, I want to. You'll be clean. And he cleans him. He cleanses him. He cures him. He heals him. Now, look at this with me for a moment. Jesus is not making a decision based upon justice. He's not done what a judge requires a juror to do, of putting sympathy or pity out of his decision-making process. Jesus is moved with pity, and Jesus does the healing. I like this for two reasons. The first is, I like to think of God as a God of mercy and pity, and a God, if you're going to have pity for someone, it means you're able to understand some measure of depth of that person's hurt, anguish, the tough situation where that person is. You're able to empathize to some degree. You're able to feel their pain. And I love the idea that our God not only feels our pain, but he's not repulsed by it. It draws him into that willingness, that wanting to help us. But a second reason I'm touched by this story is because throughout the Old Testament, leprosy is used as a metaphor for sin. Sin sends us into isolation from others and from God. Sin is an uncleanness that's not readily cured. And yet, God doesn't deal with our sin in justice, setting aside all sympathy and all pity. God has pity and mercy upon us in our sin and seeks to clean us. I really like that story. It meant a lot to me today. I hope it means a lot to you. It's your video thought for the day.